We're live. Just a second. I've got to get rid of this stupid picture right here. It's kind of messing it up where I can't see anybody. Okay, hang on. It's just my thing for today. So let's move that out of the way so we can talk. Let's have some fun today. Yes, we're going to talk about the Bible today. Where is this picture coming from? Hello. Right here. Remove it. Remove. Oh, no. Come on, go away. Now, get myself back on. Oh, yes. Lord Almighty, I'm telling you, I'm trying to fix my other laptop over here so I can use it in what I'm doing today. Hey there, good to see you. Put my glasses on. Choo-choo. Is it Choo-choo? Hey there, good to see you. So I'm running a little late because I turned this laptop on so I could read off this, and it's making this loud ringing noise. My dogs are running from it. It was just a terrible thing. But anyway, Jack, please stop. Okay, anyway, so let me get this pulled back up. What we're going to talk about today is something pretty interesting that I never knew until I started doing a little research. And I was like, are you kidding me? But all of this ties, hang on, guys, let me just say it. All this ties back to, and the reason why I'm talking about it is because of Chad and Lori, okay? And their ridiculousness with, zombies and witches and all that mess. So let me get this to pull back up so we can read I wrote a little script because that's how I work. I mean, if I don't have it, it's a mess. But can you hear me okay? Because sometimes my music gets real loud and I don't even know it. I don't know why it does that, but it just does. That's the wrong mouse. Oh, my. You need this? Hang on. And you need this. Hang on a second. Let me get my little microphone up. God dang. I'm telling you, when it rains, it pours. I'm telling you. Telling you. Come on. Yeah, it's going. Is it going? Here we go. Yeah, it's going. All right. Now, okay, let me fix this part. I swear to God. Okay, that's working. Now is this working? It should be working. Pull this off. Testing. I don't know if it's going to work. Look what's wrong with it. It's charged all the way. Anyway, hopefully you can hear me okay because I can't tell if you can hear me or not. Oh, Lord, let's see. I know it's working. Here we go. Just a second. Let me fix this right quick. It's charged 100%. So let me go over here and pull this up. I hope everybody's doing okay today. Hope you've had a wonderful day. It will get loud in just a minute whenever I fix this. Yeah. They made witches look really bad. Witches just normal people. In your opinion? Okay. Witches, it does nothing different, and they're a different kind of witch. You know what? I agree with that. See, that's true. That is true. And that's the one thing that I found was really strange. Well, if they're mentioned in the Bible, come on. If I can get this to pull back up. Come on. No, that's not it. Come on, my damn. I agree with you on that mess. Okay, here, hang on. This damn thing is just... the reason why I don't use this laptop is because it's an old Toshiba piece of shit, to be honest with you. And, well, I needed something to store this, my presentation on, because I can't read from here, and this is way too small to read on, so I have to use this one. Christians, when you go to church, or even Catholics, when they drink from the wine and eat the body of Christ, that's a ritual. But when witches do rituals, they get shunned about it. Yeah. Well, that kind of goes back to. Let me see if this is going to turn on. Oh, it's on. Good. Thank you. All right. Good. Now put that back on. Now you'll probably be able to hear better. But the thing is, like Lori and what's his name? Oh, come on. Where is it? Oh boy, let me find my little Lori and Chad, and their whole situation was, they were casting out evil spirits, right? And they said they were casting out demons, and then when you turn dark, you're a zombie, all that kind of stuff. But what the thing about it is actually in the LDS Church. Now, I only learned this from reading about this stuff. I need this to come up now, okay? From reading about this stuff, it's been a part of that church ever since Joseph Smith started it, right? But if Golly, stop it, man. I don't understand why I have to have so many damn problems over here. Oh, all right, now let me just pull up my damn document. Anyway, so that's where they okay, just like a Lilith was involved with Adam belong. Okay, you know what? That's interesting you say that because like I did not know that, and I don't know a whole lot about the Bible. About the Bible. Oh, come on, about the Bible. But it was interesting when I started reading this stuff because somebody says, how I got onto this was somebody said, you do realize that witches have been mentioned in Bible verses 35 times in the Bible. I said, no, I did not know that. So I started investigating a little bit and I was shocked to understand that is a true statement. So, okay. I was just shocked by that whole thing. Where is my damn document from yesterday? Now, come on. Oh, it's such a mess. Let's see. Another thing that happened in the middle of all of this, okay, that's pictures, was my Microsoft Word thing expired. So then it shut me off from it. And so now I have to come back over here and dig it back up. I'm telling you, when it rains, it pours over here. I'm telling you. It makes me so damn mad. All right. But okay, here, let's do this. Well, I should pull it up by name, right? I think that'll help. Bible and Witches is the name of this document. Oh, come on. I hate this old laptop. It just, it was all slow and everything, so I got a new one, right? Yeah. Just like, yeah. I mean, there's so many things that people think they know, but they don't really know because they really never went and looked for themselves. They just listen to other people. And no, buddy. And that is where a lot of the misinformation starts, right? Because they did not go look for themselves. They just assumed that whatever they were being told is correct. And that is just not right. Because I basically learned from this right here that I was told a lot of things that were wrong, So I just don't know where my document is. It's really I have to have this document because it's part of this whole presentation that I worked really hard on. And I don't know why I can't find it now. Okay, it has to be right here. Okay, there's Edge. Oh my God. Okay, here we go. Well, I'm gonna look right here, and if I can't find it there, I'm just gonna have to do it off my phone, and we'll just have to make the most of it, and that's the way it's gonna be, I guess. So here we go, because I just can't deal with this. When this thing no, hang on a minute. So hang on a minute, and I got a dog that's not feeling good. I'm telling you, it's been a day already. All right, let me get this pulled back up, and we'll just go like this. It's not going to work over here. Okay, here we go. So I stumbled across this program. I don't know if you ever heard of it or not. If you're a creator, you might have heard of it. And it's called, and of course now this son of a bitch is dying. Is not charged, of course, I'm telling you, when it rains, it pours. When it rains, it pours. Anyway, it's called vidIQ. And it really helps when you're trying to do things like this because if you don't know where to start on things like this, it's really helpful. So here's what we're going to do. Let me get this back over here. Oh my God, come on. I swear to God, I'm going to pull my hair out. I am going to pull my hair out. Not really. Well, they're not really witches. In your opinion, witches got burned that said, yeah, those were not really witches. I think that was just a bunch of scaredy people who basically were told one thing and believed whatever it was, and it really wasn't even true. And I think that's what happened to those people. So, where's my thing? Oh my God, I'm gonna pull. Oh, what the fuck? I said a bad word. It's right here. Come on now. I just had this yesterday. Okay, all right. This is not gonna work. This is not gonna be good if I can't get it to pull back up. I swear. It's right here. Okay. The way they have this stored is kind of strange too. Okay. All right. Well, if I go to most recent, right, that would probably help me pull my thing back up, right? Okay. Now, where's my details? Okay. There's that. And what I did was I wrote this whole little thing, and you can submit it to I don't know if you know who Mr. Beast is, but Mr. Beast has this huge channel out on YouTube, and I was able to have it submitted, this thing that I'm going to do, and have it have it rewritten like he would write it. So, it sounds better, it flows better, and all that stuff. If I can find my mouse, I'd be doing great. Oh my God, I swear, I don't want to have to start over. Okay, well, we're going to have to do it like this. Okay, so I'm going to make this over here. I'm going to split my screen so I can do this. Just bear with me. I'm so sorry. Sometimes when you start doing this, you're like, God, I don't even know why I'm doing this. I can't keep it straight. So I'm going to go find, what is it? Word. Hang on. Find my document. Here we go. Okay. All right. It's already downloaded. What are you talking about? Oh my God, don't do this to me. It's right here. Hang on just a second. I know you can still see me, sort of, but my document's right here. So I have to get here and split the screen. Just bear with me. Oh my God. I'm fucking gonna scream. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to say the bad words. Just give me a moment here. It's right here. It's witches. Witches. Okay. Hold on. Okay. Oh, here it is. Okay, got it right here. Open up, please. All right, now let me get this to open, and then I can share the screen and all that stuff. Just give me a minute here. Why is it not going? I swear to God. Come on. This is ridiculous. Where is my mouse? Oh, shit. Come on. Okay, it's not going to open. Oh, there it is. Okay, so there's that part. So we're going to move this over here. All right, now make it little. Now make it share the screen. Go back over here. Oh, here it is. Okay, there it is. Now I can see you, but okay, I have to move it way over here in order to. Okay, good. Now I can do this. Here we go. Where are you at? There we go. Make that the whole screen. Okay, good. Now there we fixed. So I can do this now. All right. Why is it showing? Okay, no, that's fine. Here we go. Put the word up here. Okay, so here is how it goes. So my story started out like, I'm so sorry it takes me so long to get together, but I can't find my mouse now. I've got a dog over here that's sick. I'm just having hell. This piece of shit's going to anyway. So learning. We're about to talk about something that people don't really talk about, and that is the fact that there have been, and they've always been there. See, there are people who are still in these. They're still in these covens, I guess is what you call them, but you don't know they are because it's not discussed. Now, I don't know if Wiccan would be because again, help me out if you know, because I don't know. Would a coven of witches be? Would they practice the Wiccan religion, or would it be something else? That's something I don't really know. But so this has been lurking under our noses in the Bible. We're talking about witches, sorcerers, mediums, and all this sorts of mystical mischiefs. And there are staggering 35 verses. Yes, 35, count them, that don't just frown upon these practices. They pretty much order you, to immediately, no questions asked, execution if you as so much as whisper a spell or dabble in a bit of divine. Oh, come on. Here it is. Divine, hang on. I gotta move this thing up by hand now. I can't find my little mouse. It goes, by divine. Hang on. Oh my God, I'm just gonna scream here. I am. All right, deviation or hang on. I'm about to just turn this off and start the hell over, boy. I'm telling you, I don't know what the damn problem is today. I just can't get together. Okay, so it's a bit of a. Okay, so forget the pointy noses and broomsticks and things like that, because that's really not. That's just what people have dreamed up in their head that a witch actually looks like. But a witch looks like anybody else, right? They just practice a different type of religion, I guess, than we do. Anyway, and then it talks about, and just those kind of things are just Hollywood, right? The biblical version is far less glamorous, like it's far more lethal. We're talking about straight up death sentences for anyone caught, trafficking with the spirits is what they would call it. Consulting the dead, or trying to, bend reality through forbidden means. No fine print, no appeals, just a swift boop to judgment, right? So, ever actually pause to, we ever wondered why the stereotype of the evil, malevolent witch even exists? I mean, you always wonder, well, who started that, right? Who started that they look like that? Who started that they were evil? Who started that they were? So I guess it's going to back to the Bible. It's going to tell us that. But and then why across cultures does this figure and it just sends shivers down your spine? Well, a massive chunk of this perception, whether you realize it or not, comes directly from these ancient texts, right? Okay. These aren't just obscure footnotes. They're like the foundational, powerful statements that absolutely, just rewired how the entire Western world and frankly, a good portion of the globe thinks about magic, spiritual things, powers, and that's the fabric of our reality, right? I mean, they've always been there. So just sit back and listen, get your drink, get ready, because I might have to do this in 2 sections because it's a lot of information. And there is a lot of video out there about it, which is great. So anyway, I mean, it's just not ancient history. It's just it's every culture has its own understanding, even though it all kind of started from the same place. So, okay, so you think the witches, yeah, okay. Now, so here we go. Let's go. The law that started it all. Okay, so our journey into this rather explosive topic begins, as many things do, in the Bible, all right? With the absolute bang. The first cluster of these rather unforgiving verses comes thundering straight in from the hallowed heights of Mount Sinai. Yeah, bet they do. Picture it. Moses and the 10 Commandments, and then nestled amongst those timeless laws, a directive so stark, so utterly ambiguous, it's practically like a mic drop moment when you look at this. Exodus 22, verse 18. The undisputed headline delivers its chilling pronouncement that, listen to this, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. Just think about that for a second. And just all in one sentence, there's just no wiggle room. It's telling you they cannot live. No if, buts, or maybes. Perhaps like the stern talk. No, none of that. It's just, boom, that's it. You're out of here. So this wasn't some suggestion. It was the foundational law for which nascent, unyielding commands. Just the nascent nation setting its precedent that it would echo through the millennia. It's a stark reminder that in ancient Israel, dabbling in the dark arts wasn't just a bad idea. It was a capital offense, right up there with any murder or adultery. How about that? So I guess they took it very serious. So now, if you thought that was severe, prepare yourself, because the very next book is Leviticus. Practically doubles down on the whole affair. Leviticus 19:26 warns, neither shall ye use enchantment nor observe times. What exactly does that mean? Enchantment. Okay, I know what it means, but I mean, just if you didn't know and you're just reading along something I'd written over here, okay, so I'm just going to have to discuss it like that. So it says, oh my God, let me get over here. I hate doing this like this. I usually print it out, So it goes back over to enchantment. It just refers to various forms of magic, spells, and charms, while observing often points of divination, such as interpreting omens, right? There was a big practice of interpreting omens, and looking at the stars, astrology, or attempting to predict the future through superstitious practices. These were common practices in the surrounding set, just set apart. It's from the spiritual, pollution. They called it spiritual pollution, but it's really this chapter. Then later on in Leviticus, it's 20 and then verse 6. Oops, don't do that. The stakes got even higher. Okay, they're raised even higher. It warns that whoever turns to spirits or mediums seeking counsel from those who claim to communicate with the dead becomes spiritually prostituted against God himself. Now, that's a lot to say, isn't it? This isn't just a physical act. It's a profound spiritual betrayal akin to infidelity against the divine. All right. The very next verse, which is 20-27, seals the deal, demanding that the medium and wizards, those who possess familiar spirits, be stoned to death. Can you imagine stoning people to death these days? Again, it's a capital offense, highlighting the extreme seriousness in which these practices were viewed. It wasn't just about personal choices, it was about protecting your spiritual purity and the covenant relationship with your entire community and with God. Okay. But wait, there's more. And Deuteronomy, in this 18:9 through 12, supplies us with the veritable crowd pleaser list of forbidden occult practices. Now, let's go over here and talk about Chad and Lori for a minute. Now, he says, oh, that wasn't a cult. Yes, it absolutely was a cult. It certainly was. He had a little cult going over there, and Emma's trying to keep it going by these letters from Chad that she's putting over there on TikTok, which as they come out, I'm reading them and talking about them because I think it's disgusting that he is using TikTok from death row to try to act like he did nothing wrong. Well, we're just all wrong. Anyway, in Deuteronomy, it's like 18:9, it supplies us with the crowd-pleasing list of forbidden occult practices, making it crystal clear what Israel was meant to avoid. We're talking about divination, astrology, necromancy, that's consulting with the dead. That's what that means. And charming, consulting with mediums or spiritualists or spiritists. And of course, spell casting. Now, remember Chad and Lori were talking about, okay, now when they first started this, they would go and say, oh, when they had these casting meetings, or they'd all be on the phone or whatever, and they say whatever they say, because I don't know what they actually said, but when they would do this, they would say they were casting out the evil spirits. They were casting out the evil spirits. So right there, they wrote a capital offense right there already before they took any life at all. So then the text it's detestable to the Lord. They actually justified God evicting entire nations from the land to make way for Israel. Think about that, really, just for a moment. Entire civilizations were displaced not just for their moral failings, but explicitly because their spiritual practices, their reliance on these occult arts were an affront to the divine order. So they just kick them off the land. It's like when the Indians were removed from the land that the settlers wanted. They would just move them someplace else because you don't get to keep your land. We're going to let somebody else live there. Doesn't matter if you live there all your life. We're going to take over, right? Same kind of a thing. So 5 verses in the pattern already crystal clear, isn't it? Israel's neighborhood, the ancient Near East, was absolutely saturated with occult consultations. Every village likely had its local wise one and practitioners of magic, offering everything from love potions to predictions about the harvest. Which, think about this. Remember the Farmer's Almanac, okay, where it predicts what's going to happen? The Farmer's Almanac, is that a cult? Is that part of a cult teaching? Is it we're relying on the Farmer's Almanac to tell us when to plant plants and these kind of things? I don't know, So then it goes on to talk about, and the God of Israel wanted a clean, decisive break from all of it. He wasn't just suggesting a preference. He was laying down the law, like creating impenetrable spiritual boundaries to protect his own chosen people. Now, think about this too. Chad Daybell, the reason why I'm talking about Chad and Lori is because this all stems back to where they got this information that they think they are chosen ones, that they're exalted beings, and that Chad thought that he was a prophet and could decide who was going to go. He'd say, oh, well, you can be in the Church of the Firstborn. Well, the Church of the Firstborn is actually a celestial. It is not here on earth. So you cannot be a member of the Church of the Firstborn unless you're already in your celestial being, okay? So I'm thinking to myself, did Lori not already know this? I mean, how could she believe anything he was telling her, right? So, and then it goes on to say he was laying down the law, just creating these, and then the next part is that this wasn't abstract theology; it was survival policy, like designed to ensure Israel's unique identity and faithfulness to the one true God. So, if you didn't do all these things, then you were not faithful to the one true God. Okay. Let me pull this up somewhere for a minute because I can't see what's going on right here. Okay, here we go. There. All right. Yeah. I meant to say now. Okay. So, where did my thing go? Hang on. It just jumped away. Come on. Okay. So, so his chosen people got to stay. And then it talks about this was designated as Israel's unique identity and faithfulness to their one true God. Now, remember back then, a lot of people had many gods, and still today, there are tribes and other things where they believe in many gods, not just one true God. So, this message was simple: seek power, guidance, and truth from God alone, or face the most severe consequences imaginable. Okay. And then the Witch of Endor, aka the only story everybody remembers. Now, I don't remember this story because I didn't know this story, but now in those initial commandments, just felt like a bit theoretical, right? A touch too much like a dry legal text. Then prepare for the biblical equivalent of a blockbuster movie scene, because in 1 Samuel chapter 28, it hands us 7 more verses that count toward our grand total of 35. And this, my friends, is where the rubber truly meets the road. This is the story everyone, and I mean everyone, remembers, even if they can't quite place it. It's the legend of the Witch of Endor, though the Bible just calls her woman. Okay, just woman. A woman that has a familiar spirit, okay? Picture the scene. King Saul, Israel's first monarch, is an absolute pickle. The Philistines has sworn the enemies and are just massing for the forces, looking more menacing than ever before Saul's desperate, he desperately tries to consult God. But his prayers are just bouncing off the ceiling, just utterly unheard. Okay, God has abandoned him. See, because Saul had previously disobeyed the divine commandments, including the very ones we just discussed about eradicating all forms of witchcraft and divinations. In a cruel twist of fate, Saul himself had previously been banned, because of mediums and spirits from the land. Okay, the irony about it was that in utter desperation with where he was now, he just turns to the Lord and he does this one thing he absolutely shouldn't. He's just trying, he's trying, but he's doing all the wrong things. Okay. He disguises himself, and this is bad, slips through the night like a common thief, and hunts for a woman that hath a familiar spirit. He finds her in Endor, a rather ominous sounding place that wouldn't you agree? Where's Endor? I'd never heard of it before. So, okay. And then he begs her, practically on his knees, to whistle up this long dead prophet Samuel. Now, this woman, she's not a fool. She sees right through this. It's just a disguise. She knows who he is, and she's just terrified, reminding him of his own decree against her kind. But Saul, in his kingly desperation, swears that she's safe, nothing's going to happen, promising her she will have no harm, right? But she's out already breaking these rules for him. It's kind of funny. Oh, so she conjures up, and here's where it gets to really wild. Samuel actually appears. Not some demonic impersonator, but the actual honest to goodness spirit of the prophet Samuel, just rising out of his grave. The encounter is very chilling, it's tense, and it's utterly captivating. Samuel, he's just practically thrilled about being disturbed, delivers a grim, unvarnished verdict to Saul. Now, this is kind of weird. The crown is ripped away from him, his kingdom is lost, and his sons will die in the battle he says his sons are going to die in the battle the next day. It's prophecy of doom delivered from beyond the veil. Now they talk about beyond the veil all the time. Chad Laurie and his near-death experiences where he started out with 2, but now has 4. Okay. So a moment of just profound spiritualism. It's horror, actually. It's just desperate. It's just desperate. Well, verses 7 through 19 give us the incredible dialogue, the palpable fear, and the crushing prophecy. This isn't just a dry account. It's actually storytelling gold. Arguably, the single longest, most vivid narrative chunk the Bible ever grants is the topic of witchcraft. And it's absolutely packed with drama, and it's precisely why the story has been recycled, reinterrupted, and remained for centuries. Church fathers debated that medieval monks preached about it, Reformation. Okay, now listen. You know who else talks about reformation? Those two, right? So reformation and reimagined for the centuries. Church fathers debated whether medieval monks preached, whether producers, hang on, they preached about this. But anyway, in Hollywood, producers have like time and time again just drawn inspiration from this story. Why? Because it's got everything from raw cult power, a king's utter desperation, a genuine ghost, or at least what's perceived as a ghost, and a terrifying, inescapable death sentence. So even though he knew better and he did this, he promised her he was going to protect her, but no, that's not what happened. So, it's just a masterclass of how the biblical condemnation of witchcraft shaped not just theology, but the very fabric of the Western narrative and the cultural fear surrounding these mystical arts. These stories alone just cement the idea that dabbling with unseen outside of God's expressing will leads to nothing but ruin. Okay. Now, then there's the prophets. Let's go ahead and talk about prophets for a minute. And I know this is not for everybody. I know it's not, and that's okay, guys. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. But it is interesting to learn a little bit about it. I wish I'd had a better start today, but when I get off, I'm going to throw that laptop in the trash. Okay, so then the prophets who pile on. When things happen, people start piling on. We all see it happen every day, right? So it talks about as if the law and that rather dramatic encounter with the witch of Endor weren't enough to make God's stance crystal clear, the prophets decided it was time to pile on. And when the biblical prophets pile on, they don't hold back. Their words are often laced with biting sarcasm and righteousness fury, and just a healthy dose of "I told you so." So, they did tell them so, and so here's what's fixing to happen. Take Isaiah 8-19, for instance. It absolutely sneers at people who ask, should people not seek unto their God? For the living to the dead. It's a rhetorical question dripping with contempt. The absurdity and the glaring, why would you consult on a dead person when the living have all the power? God is right there, ready to be consulted. It highlights the sheer illogicality and spiritual bankruptcy, just turning the necromancy, portraying it as if, some pathetic, desperate act of people who just have lost their way and forgotten their, divine source of wisdom and power, which is God, the Almighty God, right? So the prophet essentially saying, are you kidding me? You're going to ask a ghost for directions when the creator and the universe is on the speed dial? It's like classic, prophetic put down, just designed to shame these people. And I'm pretty sure it did, Then there's Isaiah 47:9-15, which takes aim squarely at Babylon, just mocking its sorcerers and astrologers, with just the utmost gleeful disdain, really. Babylon was renowned as the vast knowledge of the stars and its sophisticated magical practices. Its sorcerers were the creme de la creme of ancient occultists. So, think about this. Occult. But, okay, Chi says, I'm considered a green witch because I'm about, apothecary herbs and healing, but I dress and walk around as a normal person and have a normal, well, that's interesting because now that's another thing. I know I'm having a hard time right now. Just bear with me, I know. But there's another part to all of this that talks about exactly those things. People who practice, it's healing without doctors, right? Now, and that's a whole nother study over there. And I'm glad you told me that because I think that's very interesting, really. I do. Let me get back to, I've lost my place. Come on. Okay, so Babylon, just where everybody was, that's where you wanted to be. But Isaiah mocks them, saying that all the many sorcerers and great enchantments won't save them. They shall not deliver themselves from the flame. And he declares, prophesying that Babylon's inevitable destruction. So he's already told you that's what's going to happen. It's called a herbalist. Okay, but so you're saying green witch. Are you talking about? You're not talking about being in part of a witch group, right? You're just talking about being just a plain old herbalist, right? Because anyway, well, I'm not gonna talk about that. Well, I mean, because I'm gonna get off into some other tangent, and I'm not gonna be able to get back over here where I'm supposed to be, So let me get back over here. All right, now. So he's telling them, well, your whole city's damned. That's it. You shouldn't have done that. The whole city's damned. Well, guess what? So then they shall not deliver themselves from the flame. He declares that prophesying Babylon's inevitable destruction, it's a powerful image these supposedly powerful magic users who promise to save an entire empire are just utterly powerless to save themselves from the divine judgment. It exposes the utter fertility of these relying on the occult powers when he faced the true sovereign power of God. It's like watching a magician trying to pull a rabbit out of his hat or something while the entire stage is engulfed with roaring flames. Can you imagine that? So then we're going to get back over to it's kind of hard to keep up with it. Micah 5:12 chimes in with a solemn vow. I will cut off witchcraft out of the hand. Thou shalt have no more soothsayers. This isn't just a warning, it's a promise, of divine intervention. It suggests that witchcraft and soothsaying were just deeply ingrained in the society at that time, almost like an addiction. And it probably was, because they would rely on these people to give them knowledge, because they could go to them and see them in person instead of waiting for some answer from God, right? So then it goes on to say, it suggests that witchcraft or soothsaying was just all over. It was just too much. So God isn't just asking them to stop. He's actively removing their very tools and practitioners using the dark arts, forcefully cleansing, his people from those pollutants. It's, God committed the purity and exclusive worship. He wants everybody to just pay attention to him only. No, I'm not. Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm not in. No, I'm a penally witch apothecary. Herbs Today Society call it. Okay, which is society called. Okay, got it. Thank you so much for explaining that. Because, well, I'm gonna keep reading because I'm gonna get all sidetracked. So anyway, his people. Okay, so it's just this. He's gonna purify everybody and get rid of all this, and then a truly bizarre and specific condemnation. We turn to Ezekiel 13:18 through 20. Here God targets women. I think this is where this is coming from with the women. And, she's a witch, right? And they were burned at the stake. But I think it started from way back here then. So God targets women who are sewing pillows to the armholes and just hunting souls. Yes, you heard that right. Pillows on armholes. Some translators interpret that as literal padded armbands and used in some form of ritualistic magic, perhaps to bind or influence people. I guess to make them look bigger, right? I know what you mean. I know you meant coven. I understood that. So I think they were called spellbounds or something. He calls them. It was like some form of realistic magic, perhaps to bind or influence the people. Others suggest that they were veils or magic charms, or used to ensure or control these individuals, metaphorically, right? Just hunting souls, like if they could hunt their souls. Either way, God is absolutely furious at that time. He promises to rip their spell bands off and free the people that they've, ensnared, because I put a spell on you. You're ensnared now, right? So then it goes on to say, hang on a second, guys. All right. Then there's the next thing that happens over here, and it's kind of an interesting situation. So either way, God's absolutely, he's going to remove this. He's going to let these people go. This is not going to happen anymore. And so God just dismantling these strange occult accessories, exposing that these practitioners are just manipulators. It just goes to show you, even though the most obscure magical paraphernalia didn't escape the divine wrath. So they were using, it's like, just like Chad manipulated Lori and the rest of these people into whatever he was doing, which started out as actually this is the thing. Chad started out as fantasy. This was just all, fantasy. And then he talked Lori into believing, oh no, it's real. It's all real, right? Then he goes, Kings, Chronicles, and one unexpected apostle. Our biblical journey through the condemnation of witchcraft continues, and the plot thickens considerably when we turn to the historical book of Kings and Chronicles. Now, this is where the narrative paints a vivid picture of how these laws played out in the real, often messy lives of the kings of the nations. So, 2 Kings 9:22. For instance, Pace, who is rather brutal coop as the righteous purge. So, like they were purging people, specifically mentioning that the whoredoms, the whoredoms and the witchcraft of Queen Jezebel and her son King Joram. In biblical terms, whoredom is often called it has a double meaning, referring not to just a physical promiscuity, but also to a spiritual infidelity. Okay, so it's just the worship of other gods. So, linking the whoredoms and witchcraft together highlights how deeply intertwined the identitary and occult practices were, both seen as profound acts and rebellion against God. And then the violent cleansing was in the way it was done. It was portrayed as necessary act to purify the land, okay, from these spiritual abominations. And this had taken root at the highest levels of power. It wasn't just a political overthrow; it was like a spiritual detox, and it was driven by the command. Then a truly chilling passage of 2 Kings 17:17 blames Israel's eventual exile and their devastating removal from their homeland on their heinous practices, including passing their children through fire and engaging in secret arts. So, I mean, would the secret arts continue to be witchcraft? I believe it is, This wasn't some minor transgression. This was the child sacrifice. Okay, so they're sacrificing children now. Wow, a horrific ritual often associated with pagan worship. Right. We've talked, I've heard about that too. And occult practices seems as an ultimate act of desperation and spiritual perversion. The secret art, can tell us what it is, would encompass various forms of divination, and its magic, and all which were, detestable to the Lord. The message is stark. These practices were just individual sins. They were national crimes that led to the ultimate downfall and dispersion of God's chosen people. So they're out now because they continued on. The consequences, as you can see, were absolutely catastrophic. Now we're going to talk about 2 Chronicles 33-6. Okay. Let me get back to where it was. Oh, my Lord. It just jumped out of place. Yeah. Okay, so the next part that happens here is, hang on. Then in King 17:17, he blames Isaiah's eventual exile. It's just this devastating removal from their homelands on their heinous practices. Okay, that was how they were sacrificing. I lost my place for a minute here. Okay, now in Chronicles 33:6, King, I think it's Manasseh. I don't want to say it wrong, but it's Manasseh. Okay, he had a bunch of spiritual crimes, including sorcery and pervasive practicality, just filled Jerusalem with just innocent blood. Like just children being sacrificed all the time, just the innocence being taken. So now, Messana, I think it's Manasseh, something. Manas, I'm just going to call him Manas because I don't really know what that word is, was arguably one of the worst kings of Judah, reversing all the reforms his father, Hezekiah, and plunging the nation back into the deep identity and occultism. He built his father's he altered what his father had done. They built altars. I mean, they worshiped the stars. They practiced sorcery, and they consulted mediums. The phrase "filled Jerusalem with innocent blood" likely refers to not only the child sacrifices, but also the persecution and execution of those who remained faithful and resisted his pagan ways. His reign was so dark, and a testament to how deeply entrenched and destructive these forbidden practices could become, even the heart of God's own city, right? Now, we're going to fast forward for a minute. Okay. It is a big fast forward. In the New Testament, you might think, new covenant, new rules, perhaps a softer stance. Think again. The apostles, rather unexpectedly, pick up the baton with a vengeance. Okay, so then the next part, oh Lord. Okay. And Acts 8, 9-24 introduces us to Simon, the sorcerer. And I know people have heard about Simon before. He's, because he's, anyway. So he's the sorcerer, a man who has captivated the Samaritans with his magical feats, claiming to be the great power of God. But when he senses his apostles performing genuine miracles through the Holy Spirit, he tries to buy this power, like you can just go buy it like at a vending machine. So, hey there, nice to see you, Leslie. Keep it real. It's okay, girl. I know how it goes. People, there's only so much time in a day. I always say this, but there's only so much time in a day, and there's everybody's on all at the same time. So it's just hard to catch everybody when they first start. But it's okay. Thank you for coming in. This is kind of a hard read, and I'm struggling a little bit. When I get off of here, I'm throwing away my other laptop because it just, yeah. Anyway, so glad to see you. Anyway, so I'm glad you got everything done. What did you buy me anything at the store? I need some groceries. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I don't really mean that. So I might have to redo this at some time because, like in a pre-recorded thing, because I just feel like I'm struggling. I don't like it. I don't like this feeling I'm not being able to control this over here because I'm having to read this tiny little words here. Okay, so then the next thing that happens over here is okay. Oh, let me get back to my Acts deal. Lost my place for a minute. So he's trying to buy this great power of God with money, but you can't do it. And what Peter does, he's trying to be diplomatic, right? So does he offer a gentle correction? Not a chance. He slams. Okay, he slams Simon with an utterly scathing rebuke. The money perished with thee. So he's saying, well, now that you've tried to buy this, your money's going to perish, okay? Because it's like breaking the rules by trying to buy this, because it's your belief in God that is what gives you the power, right? So and what does Peter do? Okay, so he offers no, he goes, and then he comes back over here and he goes, it's just a powerful condemnation of attempting to commodity or manipulate divine power for personal gain, showing that even in early church, the distinction between true spiritual power and sorcery was really, fiercely guarded. Then, Acts 13, 6-12, we encounter, I think it's Elymas, a Jewish sorcerer who actively tries to block a Roman governor, Sergius Paulus, from hearing and believing the message of faith delivered by Paul and Barnabas. Elymas, whose name means sorcerer, is portrayed as an adversary trying to twist the truth and prevent spiritual awakening. All right. So the next thing that happens over here, so they don't want the woke people. We can't have the spiritually woke people. Nope. Sounds a little bit familiar, right? as today's time. So then he's get back over here. He pronounces that this guy the Elymas will just temporarily be blinded, declaring that he just, behold the hand of the Lord upon thee, and thou shalt be blind for a season. So it's a direct, miraculous confrontation, demonstrating that the power of God infinitely. It's like God is superior to any other occult influence, and those who actively oppose the gospel through sorcery, right, will face divine judgment. So now he's going to be blind for a season. And finally, Acts 16, 16-18. We meet a slave girl who's just raking in serious cash for her master because she possesses a python spirit, or that wasn't just a party trick. Like, she had this python, and this was a genuine demonic influence, allowing her to tell fortunes. And now we're going to talk about fortune tellers. Oh my. Okay, so then the next thing that happens, but Paul is just fed up with her constant shouting and the spiritual disruptions she causes, and exorcises the spirit from her. So she gets her exorcism. So now I don't know if I would like a nice salad too. Thank you. Yeah, get me a salad. I'm just joking. So then, so he's like, no, we're not going to have that. So the girl is then she's been exorcised, and the girl is freed from her spiritual bondage. But her masters are furious because their local economy was built on, money being raked in by these things, by her demonic tools. So that tanks overnight. It's a fascinating insight to the real world impact of these spiritual battles, showing that genuine spiritual liberation can have quite severe economic repercussions to those profiting from the occult. Chad Daybell's a perfect example. He's writing these books and all these other things. He's profiting from his occult, right? Or his cult. And he ends up in jail. That's a huge payment for it, right? Think about that. For his beliefs, he's now in jail where he needs to stay. So with these powerful accounts from the New Testament, we've added another 4 verses to our growing total, bringing the running title to a rather impressive 26. You see, the message isn't confined to just the Old Testament. It's a consistent, unwavering theme throughout the entire Bible, all right? Then there's the theology letters here's the theology letters that goes with. All right. I don't mean to stumble y'all. I also have a sick dog. I'm over there watching her. I might have to take her to the emergency room. Okay. So I'm gonna get as far as I can. We might have to do number 2. I'm so sorry. But anyway, hang on. So let's just keep going. So now, if you thought the kings and apostles had delivered the solid punch, wait to hear what the theological letters are. Okay, they're just penned by the likes of Paul, and these aren't just historical accounts. These are direct doctrinal, pronouncements on what it means to live the life aligned with God. And they certainly don't pull any punches when it comes to witchcraft. So, and Galatians 5:19-21, it delivers a rather stark list of what Paul calls the works of the flesh, okay? So right there, nestled amongst things like sexual immorality, degenerate, hatred, drunkenness, they consider that to be witchcraft, right? Which we know witchcraft as being something different. But anyway, back then, that was just not a bad behavior. It was witchcraft. So this is incredibly significant. It places witchcraft not as some fringe external evil, but as some fundamental, manifestation of a fallen human. It's just a direct opposition to the Spirit of God. It categorizes as a characteristic of a life apart from God's guidance, a clear indicator of a spiritual rebellion. Okay, it's not just about what you do; it's about how the very nature of your heart and where you seek power and control from. Okay. But for the truly apocalyptic fire and brimstone condemnation, we turn to the book of Revelations, all right? Does Revelations pack a punch? Hell yes. Fire and brimstone, remember? So he goes. Now, here's the next thing. Okay. Revelations 9:21 laments that despite all the divine judgments poured out upon the earth, the unrepentant masses who refuse to quit the sorceries, this word is translated into sorcerers, is the Greek pharmakia. I think it's pharmakia. Pharmakeia. Now, I don't know Greek, but anyway, pharmakia. And there's where it gets really interesting because pharmakia is the Greek root of our modern word pharmacy. See, Choo-Choo, I know you like this. Choo-Choo, you like this. So it's like, okay, so then it goes now, before you start thinking about the Bible condemning your local chemist, understand that in ancient times, pharmakia referred to one's use of drugs, potions, and spells is often conjured with the occult. So they think it belongs to the occult. To achieve magical effects, deceive, or poison. It wasn't just about medicine. It was about manipulating reality through chemical means, often working with spirits. So you would have your chemicals and your chantings and all of these different things that made up what they call pharmakia. Okay, so it's always been translated to sorcery, just highlighting the deceptive, manipulative power that people cling to, even when faced with divine judgment. Okay, in Revelations 18:23, then it accuses Babylon, a symbolic representation of the corrupt worldly system. So Babylon being just this place that they called it that, but anyway. Okay. Oh boy. Let me get back to where I was. I lost my little place there. Looking at that. So in Babylon, they it's portraying this global system built on spiritual deception and manipulation, where occult practices are used to maintain power and control over the masses. So, and for the grand finale in Revelations 21-8, the unequivocally it just bars sorcerers from entertaining. You can't even go into Jerusalem. If you are a known sorcerer, you cannot go into New Jerusalem, placing them squarely among the cowardly, the unbelieving, the vile, the murderers, the sexually immorals, the idolaters. Idolaters and all the liars, all destined for takeoff, to go to the lake of fire. Getting sent to the lake of fire, that's it. You're not coming in. So, what is she? I smoke weed for pain relief, so that, you know what? Let me say something. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, hang on. The Daybell occult makes it. Listen, the Daybell occult makes a good witches look, bad, because they say things to tell them to do bad things. Then that's not how witchcraft works, right? If we cast a spell, we have to understand it will come back tenfold, right? Well, it did, because they're in prison forever, right? They're never getting out, which is called karma. Good job. Yeah. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with. Sorry, guys. I got to get a drink of water. I'm so sorry, guys, but I don't see anything wrong with that. You can either go to pain management and live a life being stuck on pills and being their guinea pig, having to come back in there every 30 days while they issue you a new prescription, because God knows you might kill yourself with that little bit of medication they give you for your pain, right? That you're living with from whatever happened to you. So there are bad witches, huh? Yeah, there are bad witches. So, okay. I've talked to my doctor about that a little bit too, and he says no. He doesn't want me to do that. And I'll tell you why he doesn't want me to do that. Because if I do that, then I'm not going to come back to him. But the main reason why I don't want to do that is because, when you have a young child, I don't want to teach my young child that it's okay to smoke. So anyway, but I don't see anything wrong with it. I think it probably does control your pain better than freaking pills, right? Being the pill head. So I'll go back over here. Find my place again. And then just to drive the point home, Revelation 22:15 leaves just leaves them outside of the city gates entirely, along with the dogs. And it's a derogatory term for and a dog back then was an unclean person. So if you were an unclean person, they would just call you a dog, not the physical dog, but anyway. So they were not allowed to come into the city, right? The murderers and everyone who loves and practices falsehood. This message is undeniably clear. Those who persist in sorcery and seeking power and control outside of God have no place in his eternal kingdom. Okay. So does that mean, Leslie says, I was on morphine and I got off. It's because it's addicting. Yeah, you're right. It certainly is. Marijuana is a plant. It's not a chemical like other drugs. And I'm sorry, rugs. Sorry. I'm not monetized. It's kind of okay. So, and it's not a pharmaceutical, right? I mean, there's people on both sides of the fence with that. And I say, whatever works for you. That's how I feel about it. I'm not going to shame anybody for taking care of their own pain so that they can live a normal life. Hell no, I'm not going to do that. So these people were just, not allowed to come into the eternal kingdom. So Chad and Lori, yes, sir, you're never going into the eternal kingdom. You're not going to lead the 144,000. You're not going to be the exalted beings you think you are. And you're not going to go, you're not really going to be members of the Church of the Firstborn because you are schmurderers, right? Okay. Then, with those 6 sobering verses, we reached the grand total of 32. Oh, why don't do that? It's trying to roll back up on me. Hang on a minute. 32 so far out of the 35. Wow. Okay. So let's see. So that was 32. But wait, I promised you there was 35, because there is 35. Because what morphine is a chemical versus green, Yeah, you're right about that. So then, so we're down at 32, but there's 35. Well, there's just 3 more to round up. And let me tell you, here we go. The final trio are just completing our Bible expose. It is a Bible expose. Hosea 4-12 links the spirit of whoredom. And remember, the whoredom is, God, I have to laugh a little bit, y'all. I mean, when I was trying to put all this together and doing some research and trying to get me I wrote this up and then I let the vidIQ thing just rewrite it for me because it was like, okay, listen, I'm not making any sense. It's a bunch of scribble, but anyway, they knew how to put it together for me. So, this is just directly, just once again connecting spiritual infidelity with the practice of seeking guidance from forbidden sorcerers, right? It's a continuous theme, isn't it? When people abandon their loyalty to God, they invariably turn to the other, the darker avenues for the answers and power, right? Nahum 3:4 calls for the ancient city of Nineveh. Okay, we've heard of this one before too. That notorious capital of Assyria, the mistress of witchcrafts. This vibrant, powerful city was eventually steeped in occult practices, its influence spreading like a dark enchantment across the ancient world. It is a testament to how pervasive and alluring these practices could be, even for the mighty empire, right? And finally, there's Malachi 3-5, where it swears that the Lord himself will be a swift witness against sorcerers alongside with perjurers, oppressors, and those who exploit the vulnerable. It's okay. So Chad Daybell exploited the vulnerable, right? It's a powerful statement of divine justice, promising that those who engage in these practices will not escape the Lord's direct and immediate judgment. 35, the final one. From the, okay, so number 35 has to do with the law, the vivid narratives of the kings, the fiery condemnation of the prophets, and the stark warnings of the New Testament apostle and revelation. This biblical message is utterly consistent with witchcraft in all forms and in abomination. So a dangerous rebellion against the Creator, and it carries the most severe consequences. Right. Here we go. For section number 35. Here we go. Get my hair out of the way. All right. It says, sentences, okay, 5 death sentences versus matter to the real people. So with 35 death sentences, so that's 35 different death sentences that you could have gotten from sorcery or witchcraft, right? Now, you might be thinking, well, that's all very interesting, but in ancient history, it isn't a bit dramatic, perhaps, but what does it really mean? Well, but these aren't just dusty old scrolls of abstract theology. These are 35 death sentence verses, just matter. They're just profoundly to real people in real societies. You know, for the millennium, they will always be there, right? So the 35 death sentences, okay, they weren't just like theoretical. They were incredibly practical. You know, they just shaped the laws and the beliefs and the entire cultural trajectory. So imagine for a moment that you're living in 1200 BC Palestine. It's not exactly a land of scientific enlightenment and readily available information. Every village, every tribe would likely have its local wise one, right? So think about, Chuchi says, think about God is spiritual. He walked, even if he walked on water, think about it. It all goes back to witchcraft, something to think. You're right about that, because how are you walking on water, right? You have to be, you're exactly right. I mean, all of it has something to do with casting spells, casting you out, rituals, you know, it all has something to do with it, which is kind of interesting. But then there's this thing. Okay, so it's every village has its own wise one. You know, perhaps an elderly woman who mixed up herbs and ailments. This is so you, dude. So it mixes up herbs and ailments, right? And then, you know, and this would, let's see, hang on a minute. So they would have their mixed up their herbs or ailments, or a shaman-like figure who claimed it to read the traits of animals. So the shaman could read the animals. Okay, all right. Now, or a medium who just promised to talk to you and just you to your deceased grandpa. If you want to see your grandpa again, this medium could talk to him. So I mean, that's sorcery too, right? So they needed, and like to get needed marriage advice or whatever in a world where figures for a sense of control or insight would have been incredibly tempting and almost commonplace. But the crucial bit here is God's newly formed nation, Israel, was meant to be radically different. It needed unity, okay? So it's another cult. Think about it. It's another cult. Um, they needed unity. So what they did was a singular focus on an unwavering loyalty to the one God. How do you achieve that when every spiritual convenience, every spiritual convenience is stored all around you? It's just offering competing. It's just competition. That all these things, but or you could go have the divine God. Let him fix your problems, right? Don't count on the sorcerers and don't count on the woman or the wise one, right? So you've got competing alternative powers, and a quick fix solution, is there one? You criminalize the competition. That's how. The laws against witchcraft weren't just moral prohibitions, they were survival policies. They were like designed to protect Israel's unique covenant relationship. Oh my. Okay. With God, to prevent the spiritual corruption that plagued the surrounding pagan nations, all right, from infecting God's chosen people. It was an existential threat. And the responses was equally stark and uncommon. Okay, so it was, what was going to happen, uncompromising. They weren't going to give you a second chance. You didn't get a warning. It was just straight to the death policy, right? So, the laws were, in essence, drawing a very clear line in the spiritual sand. There is one source of legitimate power and truth, and that is God. Everything else is just a dangerous division, right? So, geez, why did my thing move again? Oh, this drives me insane when it does this. All right, let me come back over here. So then, the next thing that goes on over here, oh boy. Now, he does that. So there's only, everything else is just dangerous, right? Now, fast forward a couple of thousand years to medieval Europe. Okay, what happened back then? They also had saucers, remember? They had witches, remember? It's talked about all the time. Okay, so the Roman Empire has fallen. Christianity is the dominant religion, and those very same biblical verses become the bedstock of a legal and theological thought, right? So the Canyon lawyers, the legal edges of the church, just miraculously hang on, my glasses, mind these just ancient texts, particularly Exodus 22.18, that justify the creation of an elaborate handbook. Okay, so the elaborate handbook is going to be the Bible, I guess. So they weren't just an academic exercises. They were like the practical guides to use an identity, prosecute, punish these accused of witchcraft. The biblical condemnations provided the theological framework that fueled the terrifying witch hunts that swept across Europe for centuries. Don't move, please don't. Stop that. Oh my God. So this is how it was decided you were a witch or whatever, right? So then let's see. This just led to an untold suffering and death, because if you're accused, then you go to the stake. That's it. You can't even defend yourself. There's no way to defend that you're not a witch or you're not a sorcerer, right? So thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. They've always said if you are a witch or you are a sorcerer, done, that's it, it's over. So it wasn't just a verse. It was, like, for many, just a direct mandate for persecution, all right? And if you think that's too far removed, consider the American colonies, again, right there. In late 17th century, in places like Salem, Massachusetts, it wasn't some abstract fear, driving the infamous witch trials. No, pastors were quoting Exodus 22.18 directly from the pulpit, using its divine justification for the accusations and the trials and the execution that followed. What did you say? And you have tarot cards for true crime. And then we have tarot cards for true crime, right? Sorcery as well, right? And we have the mediums that can contact the people who have passed, the kids, whoever they are, so we can find where they are, because they're going to tell them where they are, right? Now listen to this, though. There is one person that we have seen on YouTube that was able to tell exactly where someone was, and it was spot on. Donna Serafina, right? The Reverend Donna Serafina. She is responsible for finding, I think, the Daybell kids. So it was one of these high profile cases. She was absolutely the one that found the kids because she said she saw it, right? So then so then there was this whole thing where the preacher was the decision maker right then. That was it. Okay. It demonstrated how deeply entrenched and literally interpreted these verses could be, with real devastating consequences for the ordinary people. So even today, the ripple effect is undeniable. Surveys still show that a significant percentage of Americans, often around about 35%, continue to associate with witches, okay, with devil worship. Where does that link come from? It's not some random cultural quirk. That connection that's ingrained, so that connection that's ingrained, it's a perception of what a witch is, and inherently an evil and aligned with dark forces, which is forged. The crucible of the Bible condemnation, the historical context, and the ongoing cultural impact are just undeniable because we know they're there, right? These verses don't just matter to ancient Israelites. They laid the groundwork for centuries of fear, persecution, and deeply ingrained cultural understandings of what witchcraft truly represents, right? Now, sections, here we go. But didn't miracles look like magic? Didn't miracles look like magic? I wish I had my other glasses. Over here. Okay. Let me see. Well, I've been on here for an hour already. I think we're going to stop at number 7, which is the next part of my little talk about magic and witchcraft and all that. I'm going to take my dog to the vet. I think I'm going to have to go to the emergency room. Anyway, thank you for stopping by. If you get a chance, please hit that like button. If you're coming in or out, please share, please subscribe, whatever you need to do. I'll be doing part 2 probably tomorrow. So I need to get my little baby dog to the vet. Bye, guys. Y'all have a good afternoon. Bye.